Well, what an opportunity for West Ham. They can go third in the Premier League table this weekend.
Wow.
It's amazing.
Manager of the season.
Yeah.
If Pep wins a quadruple, but David Moyes gets West Ham into the top 4, who's done a better job?
Oh, we'll ask the guys a little bit later when we talk about West Ham, shall we? For now, though, just a reminder that our fan forum today is on the Arsenal-Fulham game. So if you do have any questions that you'd like to put to our guests today, do send them in. #PLFans on Twitter. We'll be getting to that in the next hour or so. For now, though, the Premier League action kicks off this weekend in just a few hours' time. And it's a massive match for qualification for Europe in the Premier League this season. It's Everton versus Tottenham. Let's hear from both managers, Carlo Ancelotti and Jose Mourinho.
I think that there were games where we were not good enough. I think that the game against Crystal Palace, we were much better. We could deserve to win. We could deserve to lose against Burnley. It's a difficult period for us that came now with a lot of injury, but we have to be able to manage to continue to fight, because the fight for European position is there, and we have to fight until the last game. We dropped some points in the last few games, and we have to absolutely to get the result against Tottenham, and then we have important games against teams that are fighting there: Arsenal, Aston Villa, West Ham, and so it is open for everyone, but difficult for everyone.
When you are in winning positions and you lose points from winning positions, there are also negative things side to side to it.
But if you add them points on, that really propels you up the league. What is the reasons? Why does it keep happening again and again?
That's what I'm not ready to discuss with you. I think it has to do with some of our qualities as a team, but I'm not ready to discuss with you.
Well, we are ready to. Let's start with exactly that point, Stillian, because it's been very interesting watching Tottenham this season. They tend to lead in games and then throw away that advantage. We saw it last weekend against Manchester United, 1-0 up. They end up losing the game 3-1. What do you think that's down to?
Down to the manager. You would think that he will control the dynamic of the team, the dynamic of the game. You can see that the players are inconsistent through the games. They will play 1 or 2 good games and then they'll go and miss for periods. So that's what is important to understand where Jose Mourinho is coming from. You can see that they're leading, they're comfortable, and all of a sudden they lose their concentration, they lose a goal, and everything falls apart. But you can see through the interview about less dynamic, less intensity about his voice. It's about negativity. It's about not answering the question, holding back. Where players sees that. Robbie, we've played on a team. You want your manager to be upfront. You want to explain.
We had Martin O'Neill, didn't we?
Yeah, we had a Martin O'Neill. Look at Carlo Ancelotti. Carlo Ancelotti is coming. We're gonna fight. We're ready. We had our problems. We'll be there. We'll turn up for the game. But Jose has been he's trying to play that mind game that I don't think has been working.
That's really interesting. Jules, do you agree with that? Do you think this is a Mourinho problem and not the players?
Yeah, I think so. He said the week before, same coach, different players, but he'd never lost 10 games in a season before, domestically, which he has already this season. We see there 18 points drop from leading position, which is unseen before for Jose Mourinho team. And I think the mindset that he sets his players to defend the lead instead of trying to go and score another goal, for example, which I think would have helped in many of those games where they ended up losing or drawing. Is a problem. And I think it's a problem. I don't know if his message is not going through to the players the way he should. What happened with Alderweireld, for example, at the back? Why is he keep changing his pairs of centre-backs all the time? We saw Davinson Sanchez, Eric Dyer, Alderweireld, Joe Rodon. But every time he tweaks and changes, I don't think that helped the stability of the team. And for me, he's the biggest responsible for that issue this season.
Is the consistency of the message. You can see so many changes through the team, through his ideas, the way he talks with the press, the way he talks about the players. If we can pick up Gareth Bale, somebody with Gareth Bale caliber of quality, what he can offer, we don't see what Gareth Bale can do. We've seen him for 3-4 games. Picture again. Whose fault is that? Is he Gareth Bale? Is he a manager? I believe as a manager, you have to control these things. As a modern manager, have we seen that from Jose Mourinho? I don't think so, and I think that's becoming a problem for him now.
Last week on the show, it's amazing that Anton Ferdinand and Miguel Delaney, when we did our predictions, they said Spurs will score first, but United will go on and win the game, didn't they?
We said it in jest,
people
but it's
are seeing
exactly
it.
what
People are
happened.
saying that is what is happening.
But you have to question the fitness of those Spurs players. I was at that game on Sunday, and United, who had played on the Thursday night in Granada, 8 starters of the 11 starters in that Thursday game started the game against Spurs, and the second half, they were by far the fittest team. And that takes you back to when Ole Gunnar Solskjaer arrived at United to replace Jose Mourinho. He clearly saw that fitness-wise, the United players at that time, after Mourinho left, were way below the standard of Premier League players. And I think fitness-wise, this is also on Mourinho, the fact that the Spurs players, even with a whole week to prepare for a game like the one against United, struggle in the second half to keep up with the fitness of a team that's played 3 days before.
So Stan, just a quick, because you've played in some fantastic sides, and you were a massive influence in dressing rooms you've played in. What, Martin O'Neill, we know how much of a character he was. In the position, if you were in the Spurs dressing room, then you think it's a manager, would you knock on his door and go and see him?
Of course, you have to go and see him. That will show the character you are. You knock and you say, I want to play. I want to fight for the team. I want to make a change. I want to be successful. This is how you're not just challenging yourself, not the team, but the manager as well, to think in a different way. If you don't do it, if you just accept it, then that means everybody else will accept it. So you're accepting failure. And that's what is Tottenham doing at the moment. Just accepting, just having a 20 or 30 minutes or one half of a good football rather than going being consistent for a longer period of times. And you've worked with managers, with players. To be consistent, to achieve high, you have to perform every week.
Yeah.
And you've mentioned fitness. And the most physical league in the world, you should never be able to question somebody's fitness, especially at that level.
Yeah, Jules, do you think it will have been eye-opening to Tottenham fans to have heard what Paul Pogba had to say about working under Mourinho today?
Yeah, I think so. It's certainly, every club is different, and Mourinho might be different at Spurs than he was at United. It's a different context, it's a different club, all of that. But certainly from what Pogba was saying, the man management of Mourinho was in question there. How not close enough he was to his squad, to his players, compared to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who we know is very good at managing his team and has that sort of closeness with his players. And certainly Pogba felt in that interview he gave this week that with Mourinho, all of that went out of the window, and there was none of that, which I believe at times, especially when he was the special one at Chelsea, made Jose Mourinho how strong he was. He was so close to his players, defending them, he was shielding them when needed. He really had a very strong relationship with them, which clearly was not the case at United.
But let's be fair,
but
at United, though, he did win 2 trophies.
Yeah.
Let's be fair, and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, who's doing fantastically well, has failed in 4 semi-finals. Not he's failed, the team has failed as a collective. So Jose did win 2 trophies at Manchester United. We mustn't forget that. And has been an unbelievable manager in his time.
Yeah, you're right. And maybe it's just a Paul Pogba issue, that he had a different relationship, or him and Mourinho didn't get on, or something like this, and maybe the others see it differently. But certainly, I think, like Stan said, the relationship between Mourinho and his dressing room right now at Spurs can't be the best. Otherwise, we would not see all the issues that they have currently.
Well, you mentioned trophies, and that is clearly why Jose Mourinho was brought to Tottenham, to win trophies, and they still have the opportunity to do that this season with the League Cup final coming up in just around a week's time. But the push for European places in the Premier League isn't over. Maybe top 4 is, when you look at the table and the points and the teams around them. But how much of a focus will this game tonight be in order to get one of those European spots?
Huge. I think both teams, Tottenham and Everton, actually are slipping away from these European spots because it's a huge game, because they have to win. They have to make sure they keep that dream alive of getting to European football. And it's funny you talk about trophies. All of a sudden, it's very difficult for a manager, because he was successful at Man United, but now his perception of winning is actually getting a European spot. He's never been in that position before. He always fought for leagues. How are you going to motivate for players to actually fight for the 4th spot rather than the title? It's very different of mindset. When I was playing and I was challenging for European stage cups, trophies, I couldn't accept 2nd. Don't mind 3rd or 4th. So this is the way players have to. As a manager, you have to adjust and adapt. Have we managed to do that? No. And I'll tell you why. Because I believe he talks more about tactical details rather than psychological preparation. Because maybe you don't have to pay attention too much on the tactical details. Maybe more of a player's mind of go and get it, go and achieve what you want to achieve as a team, as an individual. And I haven't heard that from Jose. What I've heard from Carlo Ancelotti is the human side of him. We're going to fight for it. I want the team to fight. I want them to be ready. We've been through a difficult time. That's what I'm going to support you with. And players react on that. Sometimes it's better than actually tactical awareness.
Yeah, that's really interesting. For Everton then, the only thing they are fighting for is one of those European places, and Carlo Ancelotti has never finished outside of the top 6 in a league when he's had a whole season to manage them. So this is huge for him and his team.
It is big. They've got that game in hand as well. That could prove, I mean, if they win that game in hand, they've got 51 points, and suddenly even for top 4, they get closer. So tonight is huge, like we've been saying. They've been very inconsistent this season. You never really know which Everton side is going to turn up. They've had some great games away from home, at home, also some very, very disappointing one. But you see, if they win that game in hand on 51 points, you're only 4 behind West Ham, and suddenly it's all open. They will have big game. They play West Ham, they play Arsenal, they play Aston Villa as well after this Spurs game tonight. So big win for them, and certainly, for the form of some of the players, Calvert-Lewin, James Rodriguez, even with Richarlison, if they can get the spirit that they showed at Liverpool at Anfield in that derby that they won for the first time in, since 1989 or something, or 1990, that's with that kind of spirit that they can finish really high this season.
I think you just mentioned very interesting, Richarlison, about the way he was playing. I think in the last couple of weeks he has managed to kind of reborn himself, and he's looking completely different, playing with 12 front, playing off the shoulders, making sure that he makes that runs, he's quick, he's aggressive. And I think there's cracks in Tottenham's defence, and he could be the difference.
Do you think that the fullbacks will be equally as important, getting the balls into Richarlison in the box, and those crosses is where Tottenham have been susceptible this season at times?
It would be, and we've seen a couple of highlights of Tottenham conceding late goals, always going behind. Maybe 80% of their goals come from crosses. That's where they'll be targeted. And playing with 2 up front, I think Everton will invite this, will make sure they get it wide and they put the crosses in, and they've got enough bodies in the box.
Everton have kind of hit this weird iffy patch lately, though. They haven't won in their last 4. No, they really haven't. And their home form has been particularly concerning if you're an Everton fan. Obviously, no fans in the stadium this season, but that's been the same for every team. They've only won 1 of their last 8 at Goodison Park. What do you think that's down to, Jules?
Yeah, I mean, they've been leaky as well defensively, which is not really what we were used to, especially in the first half of the season. And Carlo has tried a back 5, a back 4. Again, he's changed a bit. We saw Ben Godfrey playing right back, left back, centre back. There's been a lot of changes. I think in midfield as well, Alan, who's starting the season so well and then had that long injury, that really cost them. And without him, certainly, it's not the same at all. And they don't really be able to replace him. But the defeat against Newcastle was a shocking performance from them at a time where they were looking much better than City you would expect. But yeah, it's been disappointing. And again, that's the inconsistency that we were mentioning earlier. Where if Calvert-Lewin is not on the score sheet, if Richarlison is not on a good day, same with James, they don't create enough, and then defensively they've been under pressure a lot.
That race for the top 4, only Man City, who have run away with the title, have been consistent.
Yeah.
If somebody had been consistent and run a 5, 6, 7 games, they'd be in the top 4 clear. It's so interesting.
And their injury issues have been a problem as well. You mentioned Alan there. He should be back for this game. Their injury problems, I'm just going to list a few of them. Pickford, Alan, Gomez and Josh King should all be back for this game. But Dominic Calvert-Lewin is going to miss tonight. He should be fit for Arsenal next week. But that's a big miss, isn't it?
Huge blow. He's been incredible for Everton this season. He has managed to keep them in the games. He managed to give them that confidence, to score goals, concede goals, but I will score. Yeah. I'm there for you. You put crosses, you get the balls in the box, I'm there. But also Fabian Delph, you forget that he's somebody who can guide the players. He's been in that situation. He won the leagues. This is the key players, and that's why until end of the season it will be important between Tottenham and Everton who's going to keep the key players fit and performing.
Well, they both desperately need to win this game. Will we see a repeat? Will we see a repeat of the cup?
Oh, 5-4.
Crazy, 5-4. What do you think the score is going to be, Jules?
I think it's going to be a draw. I know Robbie doesn't believe in draws, but I think they happen in football, I said 1-1.
There's no excitement in your life. What do you mean a draw? What do you mean a draw? You can't.
Yeah, of course,
I will go for Everton, and I'll tell you why, because I believe that with Carlo Ancelotti approach, they'll be more relaxed. They're under pressure because they don't have the key players. And I think it's opportunity for other players to go and perform and make sure that they can get the points.
OK, so an Everton win.
Yep.
Robbie, we'll see your prediction a little bit later. All right, let's talk about another Premier League match coming up for you on Saturday evening. It's Wolves against Sheffield United. Let's hear from Nuno Espirito Santo and Paul Heckingbottom.